Hi everybody, I'm Morgan Crosbie from Finch Chevrolet in London, Ontario, Canada, and you're watching Cars and Crosbie. We've got production updates, we've got constraints, we have the 22 model year build out for the Corvette. I've got consensus for all production that's going on right now. We're going to talk about the luxury tax that's going on right now in Canada. And then I might sneak in a couple of Corvette updates for you guys about what's going in and around the lot. I do have a action-packed SUV truck episode that's going to be coming out this weekend. It's, as of right now, when I fell asleep editing it last night, it was around 50 minutes long. I'm going to try to knock off another 10 or 15 minutes to summarize what I have going on. But as my promise, I'm going to be giving you guys a lot more updates about what the environment is, because we are starting to ramp back up. And in the fall, I am expecting that we're going to see a windfall of vehicles coming in. So I wanted to keep you guys updated with these weekly Thursday episodes, as Thursday is the day that in Canada we receive allotment. And that is when GM opens the door up and tells us what we're going to get. So we're going to reflect on what is going on with the orders back in 2022 and see if there's any insight and change with the Corvette, so that if you're trying to design your Corvette, you can have some more valuable insight on what people have put their hard-earned money towards in ordering on the previous year and reflecting back on previous model years, because we now have the 20, the 21, and now the 22. So now we have 3 years of data to be able to correlate and see if there's any trends or if anything is changing between the builds. We also have consensus, so that is when vehicles are going to get built, and what I have going through the pipes at our own personal dealership. So we got an action-packed episode. My voice is starting to come back. I apologize for the dialogue if it was a little bit hard to understand me on the last ones, but we've got a lot to go over on today's episode. Okay, lots to go over. Classes in session, guys. The build out for the 22 model year. We've had 3 years now of data to be able to go over. And some things in particular that I've already stood out. I was looking at this over last night. I'm going to include the link to the PDF that the National Corvette Museum has announced on their website. So if you want to go over it in more detail, you can do that. I'm just going to kind of go through the trends. If you're new to this, I really do love to design Corvettes in any vehicle. My design cues before this pandemic and the lineup of vehicles in terms of backlog was more of me trying to build stuff before it was even assigned to an individual. So before the pandemic, you know, General Motors and every other car company, they had days and days of inventory on ground. And so I was having to do my best and trying to design cool cars that didn't have an owner yet attached to them. Now I'm more of a consultant and going through the waiting list and assigning and applying my design language to it. So I have a lot of experience in this before the C8 Corvette even came about, because I was having to go around and build and design vehicles for our lot, hoping that somebody would find the same sense of style that I did and buy the vehicles. And that's one of the main reasons why I made a name for myself in the Corvette world, because at one point there was 250 days of inventory of C7 Corvettes back in 2017, 2018. You could go on to any GM lot and there would be a backlog of Corvettes. That is crazy to think of right now because of everything that's gone on. I don't need to list any examples. You guys will all know about them. But back then, I used to design and build Corvettes so that when somebody came in, I stood apart from the other dealerships. And so that's really where my design language started from. Now, this is a really important thing that I always reference, because it gives me an idea of what people are actually spending their money on. Talk is great. You want to tell me that you like this color, that's one thing. But if you put your money on that, that's another thing. And think of it like a ballot. This is the voting results for 22 model year for Corvette. This is what people actually put their ballot on and put their hard-earned money on. And it gives me a lot of valuable insight. So when it comes to you designing your Corvette, maybe you don't want to listen to what I have to say, but if you're wanting to get some resources, this is a really great one, because if you're trying to go for something that's going to be an oddball, you're going to find out right away what the rare options are. If you're wanting to try to confirm that this is an interior that people like with that set into exterior color, this is a great way to find like-minded individuals and make sure that you are not creating an oddball, because maybe you're looking at this as being a stepping stone between now and a future Corvette model that's coming out. So this is going to be a stepping stone vehicle. Maybe you're wanting to go with resale red or something like that. So these are broken down into hundreds of categories of different things. And I'm just going to go through with you guys on some things that stood out. Right off the bat, we built 25,831 Corvettes in the 22 model year. So a little bit around what I would say is the bare minimum in terms of production. I know that we can do better than that because there are previous model years that did a lot more, but I also know that the time frame of this model year was very short. It was in the late fall to about April, May that this model year went. So it wasn't even a complete year. It was about 8 months. So in 8 months, they did 25,000. So in reality, if you did extrapolate it out for a calendar year, we were doing pretty good. But in terms of the model year, it was a very small amount compared to what we can do. I know, for example, in 2017, we built 33,000, 32,000 Corvettes. And I heard rumors that we can do up to 35 to 38,000 if we were really trying. On a side note, a lot of people are asking me if the Z06 is going to bastardize the production of the Stingray. I would say that to a certain extent it will, but not for the reasons why you think. It's not going to be because they want to make only a set amount. It's probably going to have to do with the fact that the Z06 is going to take longer to build. One of the reasons why they build the convertibles staggered throughout the production process is that they take longer than the coupes do. So if you're trying to make it so that you have a consistent amount of vehicles going through the plant at any given point, it makes sense to have them staggered instead of what we used to do, which was batches, where we would do 25 in Arctic White, and then we would do 25 in this color. And so the likelihood that you're going to have, convertibles strewn in there makes it so that the time frame is all over the map. Again, we're very almost 50-50 on convertibles over coupes. 51.2% are coupes and 47.9% are convertibles. So almost 50-50, which is absolutely wild. It was nowhere even close to that in the C7 generation. Now to the biggest difference that little peed off about. They don't get normally mad on the channel, but this is one that I am. US got 23,503 Corvettes. Not mad about that. It's an American company. You guys deserve all the vehicles you can get, and I'm not going to argue with that logic. Canada got 1,014 Corvettes. That is well below where we normally are. We usually get around 1,800 to 2,800 Corvettes, and we were nowhere close to that. I saw a major hit to my allotment, and I did nothing wrong. And I was expressing my frustration for a long time on the channel and to people privately that were waiting for their Corvette, anticipating that my logic of averaging about 5 Corvettes a month was going to be the case. And we were left like mushrooms. We were just left in the dark and expected to grow. No one told us that we were going to be getting less allotment. No one told us that we had done anything wrong. We were just kind of left to deal with it. And I'm not too happy about it because I did nothing wrong. I did not sell these vehicles over list. I was not exporting these vehicles out of country or anything like that. I did everything I could. I was the biggest cheerleader for the process. And in the end, Canada ended up taking a huge hit. And I know why. It's because Europe got 693 Corvettes. Australia got 212. The Middle East got 176. And Japan got 147. Mexico got 78, which is a small amount. So they basically took Canada's allotment and they gave it to other countries. It should go without saying that this is a business and that they're going to go where the money is. And I don't know about it if you guys know this or not, but in Canada, we actually are very fortunate about how much it costs to build and price out a Corvette comparatively to other countries. If you were to build this in England, you can't even get a 1LT. You have to get a 2 or a 3LT Z51. And the price of it is, I think, 20 to 40% more than if you bought it in Canada. So they're obviously making more money off of these ones that are going to the Europe and Australia. And it looks like Canada took the biggest hit on that. It sucks. It's the nature of the beast. At least now we can know the exact amount instead of me pulling my hair out and wondering why I'm not getting allotment. I would say that I was shorted at least 18 Corvettes that I normally got in previous model years. So can't bite the hand that feeds, but I can call them out on the stats now that I have them. So C7R editions. This was the limited edition that you could choose. This was the IMSA edition that you could choose, either it being in yellow or in hypersonic gray. We did 1,007. 470 were coupes, 537 were convertibles. I had a feeling that convertibles would be the popular choice on that, and I was right. In terms of Z51, 17,700 vehicles were done in the Z51, which is refreshing to see that 68% of all the Corvettes that were built were Z51. One thing in particular that I always focus on is the suspension. And this is one of those things that if you're wanting to make sure that you're doing the right thing, take this into consideration. 23% were base model. You will always see a high amount of that because there's always those people that are trying to get the lowest price point possible or just get a bare bones version. So, 1LT is obviously not likely going to have a lot of features on it. So I'm not surprised to see just under a quarter of them being built without anything on it. It is interesting to see that we are seeing 7.5% being built with a non-Z51 and MagRide. I would like to see that number increase in the future, but I know that there was constraints that were involved that made it so that you had to do an all or nothing strategy with MagRide. So it makes sense why that is the lowest number of them all. 45% of all the Corvettes built were a MagRide Z51, which I absolutely love. Almost half of all the Corvettes built were MagRide Z51, which is the way that a Corvette should be built. I think MagRide is without a doubt one of the most important options that you can get. I can go on and on for ages, but I want to keep this thing short and sweet. MPP exhaust, 86% was probably the most common option. Front lift, 58%. That is remarkably high. And if you're looking at how much it costs and what it does for the vehicle, if you live where there's a cliff on your driveway, I can understand it. I've used my front lift probably 4 times this year. I don't think for $3,000 at Canadian that it's a really cost-effective option. I would much rather use that money towards other things personally, and I'm surprised that more than half of the people that are buying a Corvette, almost 2/3, are doing the front lift, but that's just my opinion. In terms of wheels, a lot of people are doing the base wheels, and that's mainly because they're probably doing aftermarkets or they're not wanting to spend the money on an upgraded set of wheels that they maybe don't have a good sense of value on. So I understand why the base wheels on a Corvette are the most popular choice. Trident spokes 7.1 are in sterling silver, and then the painted finish ones are 15%. So interesting to see that Trident spoke wheels are still doing a decent amount of size. In terms of brake calipers, the most common brake caliper was the bright red option, which I think is a really smart option, especially if you're trying to accent the vehicle with an adrenaline red interior. So really good to see that. Engine appearance package. Not as common as I thought, but obviously you can only do that on a coupe, so only 10% were done with the engine appearance package. And then the painted mirror option, 40% were done with the painted mirrors, which I think is a really great option to accent and to contrast the vehicle with. Colors. This is probably where I'm going to spend the most amount of time. The rest of them are very long-winded, and I want to keep this episode where you guys are staying awake and alert, and you can obviously go into this. Color is, in my opinion, the most important thing. Number one color for the 2022 model year. Got all mixed up here. Apologize, guys. We want exterior color, not interior colors. Here we go. All right, number one choice was Torch Red. Torch Red has been the most common color for a very long time. Arctic White was the previous winner of that, but Torch Red has taken the cake and the crown again with having 16.1% of all the Corvettes being built. So that's 4,100 Corvettes were built in Torch Red. Now, a close second to that was Arctic White with 3,600 Corvettes being built in Arctic White. And then after that, surprisingly, is Hypersonic Gray. So the color that I thought was going to be a really big winner was the third most popular color, and it dethroned Red Mist Metallic, which was the fourth most popular color at 3,274 units, or 12.7%. So to see Red Mist and Hypersonic in the top 4, I think is really great, because you're always going to see white, black, and red as being, very common colors, but you're still seeing the lost leader, or the biggest loser in terms of market share being black. Black is now only 10%, 10.7%, with 2,600 Corvettes being built in black. I've always wanted to beat up on black, especially now that with there being the carbon flash metallic version available. I think that you're going to see black continue to decrease in popularity. That's a personal thing. I know it's really hard to maintain that color, keep it looking clean, and I think that you can do way better than just doing black. And I know that that's going to offend some people, and I apologize. That's my opinion. But my guess is that black is going to continue to decline in popularity, and colors like hypersonic gray and red mist, which are really showing off our paint shop's capabilities, are going to continue to increase. I still want to get a green. We need a green back. And I think the color that needs to be replaced is definitely caffeine, as only 1.5% of all Corvettes built, or 385 Corvettes. That's less than the IMSA editions. 385. That means that you've got yourself a unicorn right there in itself. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the color. Zeus Bronze. We were having 1,000 to 1,500 being built every year. Zeus Bronze was never even that low. Another one that's a little low still, and I think it might be due for a redesign, is Accelerate Yellow. Only 3.6% were built in that color. 1,193 were built in Accelerate Yellow. Yellow is one of the most iconic Corvettes colors, and I really think that they should go back to the factory racing C8R and C7R color instead of this Accelerate Yellow. I think it's time. We're not seeing it get into the 5 to 8% amounts. I'd have to go back, but I would have to think that Velocity Yellow and Corvette Racing Yellow were always a higher market share than what we're seeing with Accelerate Yellow, and it's consistently in the low percentile range in terms of how many people are doing it, or around 1,000 units. My color, Ceramic Matrix Gray, we have 1,200 being built in that. 5% are being built in ceramic. I like it. I hope that they keep it there. I'm seriously proud of my color. I really don't think that it is overdue yet or long in the tooth, because it really is a great color. But now having this pearl color, I think it might be the last year that you see Ceramic Matrix Gray, because both of them have a lot of mica in them. They're both kind of pearlescent, and they're both kind of an off-white color. So I think now having Ceramic Matrix Gray, the diamond finish, and also Arctic White, having three kind of whites or off-whites is a lot for a Corvette. But if we could continue to create more colors, that would be great. I just don't know how many colors is the maximum that General Motors can have. And that would be a really great question to ask Kai. What is the maximum amount, or what's the maximum capacity that they would have? Like, are they keeping in the reserve two slots? They seem to be always increasing the amount of colors. So that's a good sign, but are we at the max right now, or is there room to add more colors as more exotic models come out with the Z06? Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, GM. Let's get some cool greens and stuff like that, like you're doing with that NFT edition in mint green. I think mint green is a good start. I would like to see something like woodland green or more earthy green come back, but we'll see where it goes from there. Amplified orange, it's doing decent with 1375. It's nowhere close to where it was with Sebring orange. I think Sebring orange was in the 2000 range. So we're seeing Amplified orange being less popular than Sebring orange was. And Rapid Blue is staying strong at around 8.8%, or 2,261 orders being done in it. It's pretty evenly spread between coupes and convertibles. There's not really a big difference between the two models in terms of one over the other. I would say that Torch Red is being ordered more on coupes over convertibles and any of the non-option colors, because again, there are a lot of people out there that just try to make these as cheap as possible. So you're going to see Arctic White, Black, and Torch Red always be more popular on a coupe than a convertible, because there's people that will just make a base bare bones model. So for example, with Black, 1671 for coupe, 1,000 for the convertible version. But when you go to an option color like Rapid Blue, for example, 1182 for the coupe and 1079 for the convertible. Another option color here, Hypersonic Gray, 1626 and 1665. So as you can see, option colors, it's an even spread between the two. for base model colors, you're going to see more coupes getting them than convertibles. So that's some valuable insight on trying to make sure that when you're trying to sell your vehicle that you're not in an oversaturated market. One of the things that I take into consideration when I'm buying my vehicle is making sure that I'm not going to be in a sea of the same spec when it goes for me to want to sell it. You know, you could say, oh, you know, why are you trying to scalp your vehicle? But I usually try to own my vehicles for 3 years. Once they get to the point where they're almost out of warranty is when I usually try to get rid of them. So the 2.5 year mark is usually when I do it, so that the next owner has a honeymoon period of about 6 months where they still have a bumper to bumper warranty with their Corvette or whatever I'm owning. That's usually the limit on how long I own it. So that might be some foresight for you guys on a later part of this channel that I'm going to get to. So rest of them you can go see in the link below, but that gives you guys some insight on what I'm doing there. Now, we'll do good and then bad. Canada, listen up guys, it's happening. We live in an amazing country, and one of the costs of being in this country is the fact that you have taxes. If you look at any of the Scandinavian countries and developed countries, the higher the tax rate, the higher the quality of life. And if you want to live in an amazing country, this is the cost of admission. And unfortunately, as of September 1st, there's going to be a luxury tax that's going to be involved. If you have a $100,000 vehicle or above, it's now going to get a 20% tax. So like with your tax bracket with your income, if the vehicle is now $110,000, you're going to have $2,000 an additional tax. It would be the same as in the States with a gas guzzler tax. So it's I guess relative, it's just a different name for it because most gas guzzlers are going to be over 100 grand to begin with. If you're over $100,000, it's the amount that is taxed by 20%. After $250,000, it goes down to 10%. So there's some things that I have coming about that I am conscious and aware of. And my next project is going to be a heavy hitter, and I unfortunately might be needing to sell my Corvette. And if I am going to sell it, I'm going to try to sell it before September 1st. I'm still waiting to hear if I end up selling it to one of you Yanks, my Corvette, if it still is subject to that tax if I'm exporting the vehicle. You can export a GM product from Canada if it is over 6 months old and it has 12,000 kilometers. My C8 has 25,000 kilometers on it and it's well over 6 months old, so I am safe to do whatever I wish with this model. I thought it would be a little bit more of a formal announcement, but I'm looking at probably selling my Corvette right after I go to Carlisle, which is at the end of August. If you're interested, we'll do a more formal episode on that. I'm not happy about the idea of selling my Corvette, but for tax reasons and with the new project that I have coming about, it probably makes the most sense so that somebody can own the vehicle for 6 months before the in-service date hits 3 years, which is in March of 2023. This luxury tax is going to be on anything that is 18 or newer. So the reason why I'm talking about my Corvette in this is because my Corvette is a 2020. So anything that is a 2018 model or newer, if it's being sold for over $100,000, it's subject to this tax. So if it has not been done, obviously because the tax didn't exist before, it is now subject to it. So if I'm not going to be selling my Corvette for this amount, I'd probably be selling it for around 125-ish Canadian. If I was selling it for an even round number of 150, that would mean that 50,000 of that vehicle is going to be subject to 20% tax. So there is an incentive for me to want to get rid of this before September 1st so that I can make sure that the next person doesn't have to pay that tax. There's no way around it. If you lease the vehicle, it's going to be up front. If you pay cash for it, it's going to be up front. And it's pre the regular sales tax of your province as well. So it's not like you get taxed on your provincial tax and then the additional 20%. It's the amount of the vehicle plus your provincial sales tax and federal sales tax. So there'll be more questions about that, I'm sure, down the road. But obviously there's other people that are not in Canada, so I want to move along the show. All right, production updates. This is telling you guys when things are going to get built. So if you are getting an order or if you're looking at trying to figure out when you want to order something and when things are going to get built, this is going to help you out. Our things from our Lansing plant, so our Enclaves and our Traverses, they are going to be built on September 5th. So if you are getting an order awarded to you or you're placing an order at your dealership and they can accept it this week, you are going to get your Enclave or Traverse built on September 5th, and that's in Lansing, Michigan. Our other Lansing, Michigan plant where the CT4, CT5 are being built is September 12th. So the week after that is when your Cadillac sedan will be built. If you're looking at getting an XT4 out of our Fairfax, Kansas City plant, September 5th is when that's going to get built. XT6 and XT5 out of Spring Hill, Tennessee is also September 5th. Our full-size SUVs, so Tahoe, Yukon XL, Suburban Tahoe, already said Tahoe, Escalade, and ESV is also going to be September 5th. So a lot of things are going to be built on September 5th. Our trucks, our 23 model year trucks, they are going to be starting to be built on September 19th. So the first 23 model year half-ton trucks in Sierra and Silverado are going to be built on September 19th. HD trucks are going to be built on September 12th. Corvettes, there are no Corvettes that are going to be built for this week in Canada. That might be different in the States, but I would assume that they're probably going to be built in the end of August. If I was going to make a guess, they're usually a little bit sooner than normal builds of ours. Colorado Canyon, the 12th. Camaro is the 12th of September. Malibu is the 12th of September. The only other thing that is not on the 12th of September or the 19th is the Equinox, which is going to be built on the 26th of September. Now on to constraints. So this is now what you can get built on your vehicle if you are getting something built. Right now, Malibus are actually doing pretty good, pretty much across the board, except if you're looking for a midnight edition. Almost everything is good to go there. Camaros, there is almost nothing for ZL1s. Only 5% of all Camaros being built are going to be in a ZL1. The 2SS models, 20% are going to be a 2SS model, which is the fully loaded leather version of the interior. Shark skin metallic and red radiant tint coat are 20% as well, and you can get 20-inch wheels on certain builds as well. The red line is only going to be 5% of the builds right now, which is a non-SS model, and then a 1SS is 15%. So not great, and these are all greater than 4 weeks, so the Camaro is looking like it's going to be constrained for a little while, with only a quarter of them being built as an SS model, unfortunately. What else do we got here? Blazers, the Premier package is non-existent. The sunroof is non-existent right now on a Blazer. And the RS model, 36% can be built with an RS. So I have already got some RSs that have been built without a sunroof. And it seems to be a continuing theme. So greater than 4 weeks, no sunroof on a Blazer right now, which is the biggest constraint. All right, Tahoe Suburban. This is a big one for a lot of the people that watch the channel. High Country, 5%. So the same as last week, Denali and High Country are going to be only 5% of production. Premier level trim, though, is at 25% now, which is not bad. Zfit 71 trim and RST are at 16% of the build, so 1/5 of all the vehicles that you can build right now. So that means that if you got a dealership that had 5 Tahoes, 1 in 5 of those Tahoes is going to be it. That doesn't mean that it's a luck of the draw what you get. So you have a 15% chance. I would say that I wouldn't bank on it if your dealership's only getting 1 Tahoe, that they're going to be able to get you an RST, unfortunately. I hate to say it. Now, having said that, the RST is the lowest trim level, so you'd work from the top down. So if you have a 5% chance of High Country, a 25% chance of the Premier, which is the next level down, then you have the RST, and then you have the Z71, you're going to definitely get an RST because all those percentages are also being worked into it. So you may not win on the 5% with the High Country. Then you move your down to, because it's in a pool, right? Let's say that there's 1,000 Tahoes that are going to get built. The first top 5% are coming off of it, and so now they're out of the equation. Then you're left with 25%. So a quarter of those 1,000 to begin with are now going to get, so another 250 are now being taken off of that remaining amount. I'm not going to try to do the math, but I would assume it's around 700 are left. So now of that 700, you've got another 200 that are going to be RSTs, and then the remaining amount are going to be Z71s, and then if you really are unfortunate, then you're going to have the bare bones. So that's how the logic it works. You got a pool of them, and every single time, you're looking at from the top down, so the top trim level down. Because obviously, as a dealership, if I have the ability to get a High Country, I'm not going to build anything but that. it's just common sense. And you would know if you look at any of the waiting lists that more often than not, there's going to be a very high amount of top level trim levels that are going to be on there. So I have a waiting list that's more often than not 80%, I would say at least, of the top trim levels. So that's, you know, the top down, the cream rises to the top and we're skimming off the top amount. That's the kind of logic that you're going to have. So the Tahoe and Suburban, that's what you have going forward with it. Apply that logic and that same amount of allotment to the Denali. Only 5% will be that. Ultimate Denali is pretty much non-existent right now. It's really hard to find them. And then rear DVD or rear media, we're starting to see that come back a bit with 15%. It still says greater than 4 weeks is the supplier constraint, and then diesel engine is still, for the rest of this model year for 2023, going to be 10%. That is a massive thing to note. If you guys are looking at getting a diesel on a Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, 10% are only going to be built for the rest of the 23 model year in a diesel. That is a very important stat to take into consideration. So it means that you might need to wait 2 weeks in order to get the vehicle that you want. And I'm becoming a little desensitized to these types of situations. I know that it's frustrating to think that 1 week you could have got a high country, but you got to take it in gas. The next week you got a diesel, but you can only get it in an RST now. It's the nature of the beast, and there's no sense in trying to predict these types of calamities. It is what it is. I'm sorry to say it that brash. Make the best of the situation, because at least we're building something right now. You know, at least you're getting a pizza out of the oven instead of going home hungry. Escalades, it is a little bit better. Platinums are still at 50% as of last week. It was the same amount. Sport trim levels have not changed. It's a less than 4 week supplier constraint, so you are going to see that the sport trim level will increase in the amount most likely next week, because it was the same last week at 24%. So if it's a less than 4 week constraint, that means that we probably only have 1 or 2 weeks left of this before it increases. V models is a manually allotted vehicle, so we don't know how many Vs are going to get built. And diesels, again, 10% are only going to get that, but it says on the Escalade less than 4 weeks. So that is a supplier constriction, meaning that there will be more diesels going to the Escalade than on the Tahoes and stuff, which is already guaranteed is only going to be 10% of the allotment for the rest of the model year. So if you're wanting to get a diesel, your best option is to get it on an Escalade. For ESVs, it's the exact same format. So that was a lot of stuff to go through. Luxury tax is unfortunate. I am looking at selling my Corvette now. I'll have more details on that at a later date. If you are in the States and you're wanting to capitalize on the fact that right now, as of this video, the dollar conversion is 29 cents to the dollar, meaning that you can buy my Corvette for 29 cents, 29% less than you could in America. It would be very convenient to have someone there, and I would probably do a Cars and Crosbie adventure where I would ship it down and deliver it to you, just to make things more convenient and also have a fun adventure. Hopefully you don't live in the bottom part of Texas or something like that, because that would be a long adventure, but I'm a man of my word. So we'll go out and see some fun things that I have on the lot. We're going to wrap this up because it's already getting to be a long-winded episode. And I have another long-winded episode that's coming for SUVs, trucks, and luxury vehicles later on this weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Stay tuned. All right. My voice is coming back finally. And with that, some Corvettes are on their way out. The used Red on Red two-top C8 is on its way out. We're going to get that all detailed up. But this beauty over here is the one that I want to feature right now. As you guys can see, black is the secondary color with this. And we have the 5VM kit from ACS on here. And one of the biggest advantages that the ACS 5VM kit has is you don't have to drill into the side like you do with the 5VM kit from General Motors. Now, you'll also notice that it's a slightly different design. It almost looks like it's a two-piece that they've amalgamated together, and they've done that to reinforce it so that you don't have to be invasive and drilling in on the side. As you guys can see from this angle here, it looks the same in terms of the aggressiveness. I would suggest doing some wicker bills at a later date for a fun little, way to reinvent the way of designing your car. And with that painted top and nacelles, you get a very cool exotic look with the GM forged wheels. It's a 20 spoke wheel on here with the Arctic white paint. I dig it. I really do. I think this is an awesome build. I would have loved to have seen that strike yellow combination with a 3LT package to go with these calipers, but can't make too many knocks against this one. This looks very sharp, and I'm excited to see it after it gets all detailed up. All right, I've got ESV Escalades going out. I've got Yukon Denali's, XLs, and Shorties going out. We're gonna do a blackout project on this one. That'll be a fun day. I can't wait to show you that. We've got ourselves a blacked out Onyx Edition XT4, an HT from London, or from Oshawa going out as well. These are all my deals. This is pretty nice. I'm floating my boat here. And here's an Escalade that just came in off of trade. What I'm looking for right now is the 23 that's going to be going out. And I got a 14 on trade, which I'll show you guys later on. It should be down here. You guys are getting a nice little tour of the service vehicles on our lot as I wild goose chase you around. I apologize. Actually, no, let's fast forward this until I find it. Found her. Look at this, guys. Getting all ready and shined up. This is not my delivery, so I probably won't be able to film the final process, but I just wanted to show you guys the upgraded ACS ground effects, the suede leather that we're doing the interior protection package to, and all the beautiness going on in this one. Well, I'm going to wrap this episode up. If it's still here by the end of the day on Friday, I'll include some more of the details on it in the next episode, but we got to keep the train going. All right, guys, lot walk time. Check out my inventory. All of these are used deals. We have 7 cars in our auto group. Sorry, 7 vehicles in our auto group. It'd be a pretty bad auto group if we only had 7 cars. And every single one of our auto groups is jealous of the amount of used vehicles that we have in our lot. It's windy, but not nearly as windy as last night. We actually had tornado warnings, which is not common for our area. This blows me every time I see it. This is a 100th anniversary Miata. I didn't think Miatas were that expensive, but this is a 2021 Miata for 47.5 grand Canadian. No idea if that's a good deal or not, but it's here. We got a 1LE, V6 1LE, so an RS 1LE, but this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. This is an OG. This is a 2014 C7. A 3LT back then meant something different. It came with a 6-speed automatic transmission back in 2014, but thank God they did this the right way, because guess what? It's windy. Let's go in here for a second. We got ourselves a 7-speed. This is a manual, an Adrenaline Red 3LT, carbon fiber dash, a round bottom. You guys remember that? So when they did the refresh on the C7s, they went from a 6-speed to an 8-speed transmission. The steering wheel went to a flat bottom, so that's why I call these round bottoms. The dash on here is a little bit more covered in leather, and then you'll see that the A-pillars and the headliner are not covered in suede like it would have been if it was on a later year. This has got a transparent top. In terms of the condition of this, we're doing the typical thing. It just came in on trade. This gentleman was nice enough to flatbed his trade-in, and he's actually taking the white C8 that we are featuring on the channel that you just saw. So there's your second top. This is we got the transparent 2-top option, so this is your carbon fiber option. And well, as you can see, this guy's a heavy hitter. He's got himself a C8 that's loaded up, and on his C7 that he owned, he also loaded it up with an exposed carbon fiber 2-top option. We've got the Z51 package on here. You're wondering why I slammed that extra hard. It's because they didn't have the soft close option originally. And when you're closing one of the ones that did not have the soft close, you want to make sure a door is open, because if you don't, it'll create a big pocket of air and it won't let it close properly. So leave the window cracked down a bit, or open up the door when you have an early model C7 in order to get the back hatch to close properly. We have on here the updated tires. So these are Pilot Sport 4S's. So I know that these are not the original tires that came on the vehicle. So that's a good sign to see. They're the new versions. You see that the brakes have not got a big lip on the edge of the rotor. We got nice red calipers to match the red paint and adrenaline red on the outside. Again, I'm just seeing this for the first time. So tires are in really great condition. Paint is in really good condition. Just doing a little analysis to see if we got any PPF on here. We don't. We've got nice chrome badging to go with this model. And one of my favorite places to check and see the condition of it, and hopefully this doesn't shoot me in the foot when we open this up. Let's see what it looks like underneath the clamshell here. Wow, that is what I was looking for. And you don't see that every day. This is a 2014 Corvette, and by now, more often than not, these have been completely peeled off with people having them power washed or scrubbing them or rubbing them, or just even with the heat from driving them. That is extremely rare to see all of the red on there still on there, because they peel off like none other. Now, I can tell that this guy took a lot of care of this vehicle, and the reason why is right there. That is soap. This gentleman liked his car too much. You ever heard of the wives' tale that if you brush your teeth too hard, you can actually get more cavities? Kind of along the same lines with this. This guy was a little too trigger happy with the soap, and it gets into the fire shield, heat shield that's on here, and it permanently changes no matter how much you do. So there's a little bit that you can obviously get out. This isn't as permanent as it looks, but I can tell that this guy really liked his car and cleaned it a bunch because of that stain right there. So my detective skills, always showing you guys some little things. Front windshield, nothing that I need to be worried about there, so that's a great thing. And then the other area that I look at is right here. And look at that. That's just from maybe a lot boy or someone. This is immaculate. This guy really took care of his car. I am impressed. In terms of an area that you see a lot of damage, it's on these door sills. You're seeing a bit of it. You could replace this. This is totally removable, and it's a nominal cost to do. But this is an area that is really hard to replace, and I don't see any damage that needs to be done. This is a cool vet. 2014. How many kilometers we got on this bad girl? Let's fire her up. Get to use the 3-pedal way. We've got 35K on a 14. Holy moly. Didn't leave us any money. I've seen on eBay and on Amazon there's some really cool options, like where you can get something to be able to stack it, like it's like a little rack. I think that's a really cool modification for a cheap price point. Got the original ownership and owner's manual in there. That's good. I tell you, this is a cool looking vet. Well, I got ourselves a manual C7 on the lot. If you're interested in it, make sure you come down. I think that's enough for today. I'm hoping by the time the next video uploads, my voice is completely back. Luxury tax, a little bit of a road bump, whatever you want to call it, if you're looking at a car in Canada that's over 100K. I know that there are some major constraints, but in terms of the volume of what we're getting a lot more full-size SUVs and pickup trucks. A lot of our mid-size SUVs, there's really nothing to be reporting. You know, for example, if you're wanting to get an XT5 or XT6, there's really nothing that's stopping you from doing anything you like. I got 6 XT6s, for example, this week. 1 Tahoe, 1 Yukon XL, 1 Escalade, no Corvettes across the board in the country, 1 CT4, 1 CT5, 1 XT4, and 1 XT6. So that is what I got at my dealership for this week. And not all of it is sold, but most of the things are. So if you are in the lineup for an XT5 or a full-size SUV, you will be hearing a call from me, because I will be willing to be getting ready to place your order. I'm Morgan Crosbie from Finch Chevrolet in London, Ontario, Canada. You're watching Morgan. Oh my gosh. You're watching Cars and Crosby. Stay tuned for more awesome content, and happy motoring.